Welcome back. Next up is insert. So insert is sort of like set in that it takes two pieces of data. It takes an index and a value. However, instead of updating an existing node, insert is going to insert a new node at whatever position we specify. So for example, I could call on this list, insert at position 2, the number 17, in which case we would go 0, 1, 2. So we would put the number 17, a new node right here, and we'd connect this node to it and then connect it to 77. So let's actually do that. So this allows me to insert at the beginning, unshift it, or push to the end after the tail. Here I can insert at a specific index. So index of 2, I said 17, and I'll pause it. Okay, so what we want to do, if we pass an index of 2, we want to find the item at index of 1, and we're going to connect that to our new node. So if we're inserting 17, okay, here we found index of 2. So we know we need to insert between these two things. And so we take our new node, which is 17, that's the value, and we're going to have it point at 77. So we hook it up one way, and then we need to change this so that the prior node is pointing at the one we just inserted, like that. Okay, so this can be a little more complicated than some of the other methods, but we also can make use of methods we've already built. So let's talk about how. So you're going to define a function. It takes two things in, the index and the value. And if the index is less than 0 or greater than the length, return false, because we can't insert something there. Notice that it's greater than the length, not greater than or equal to, because if the index is the same as the length, that means just insert it at the end, in which case your code can just rely or call upon your existing push method. So if we're trying to insert something at the end, just use push, don't rewrite it. Same thing if it's trying to be inserted, or if someone is trying to insert something at index of 0, use your unshift method. Don't rewrite that logic. So the first little bit of the method can be a couple of conditional statements. So if none of these are true, it means that the index is somewhere in the middle of our list. Let's say index of 3. What we want to do is basically find the item at index of 2. And we have a really easy way of doing that now. We have that get method we built. So we can just call get, but pass in the index minus 1. So instead of get of the index, we want the item before. So remember, if I was trying to insert 17 at index of 2, 0, 1, 2, we could call get on index of 1, which would give us this node right here. Then all that we need to do, once we have the previous node, the one right before where we're trying to insert, we take that previous node and we set its next to be the newly created node, which I didn't specify you need to create a new node, but you do. So we create the new node, we find the one right before it using get, and we connect that sort of pathway from the previous one to the new node. Then we have to connect the new node to the old next node, right? So if we find this here, this is our old one. We need to connect this to this and this to this. Now the order they go in, it doesn't matter which one you do, you just might need to use a temporary placeholder variable. Okay, so then the final thing is to increment the length because we've inserted something, and then return true. So one quick note, ideally your method will return only true or false. So if the insert was successful, it returns true. If it was unsuccessful, it returns false. The problem is that if we're going to rely on our push method and our unshift method, for example, those don't return true or false. So if you want to get fancy, you could coerce the return value of push and of unshift to be a Boolean, true or false. But don't worry about that, honestly. I'll show you a really quick way of doing that in the solution. But it's just a note that to make this a little nicer, it should always return true or false. Okay, insert is probably one of the trickier ones, so give yourself a break if you can't get it. I'll see you in the next video.